Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Playing that violin on the Titanic. Here we go. Here we go, baby.
You mean playing that violin at 221B Baker Street?
Oh, yes. Of course. Of course I meant that. Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother. A lot of words.
Single adventure.
The adventure. It is.
Not adventures. It is very specifically an adventure.
They knew.
One.
They're like, one and done. That's all you need.
For many years, people have believed that Sherlock Holmes was the greatest detective in the world. But is it possible that there could exist another human being whose mental powers go even beyond those of the master? Hello, what's this? It's Sherlock Holmes' smarter brother.
Yeah.
This guy is not coming back.
And he didn't. Listen.
No, he didn't. None of your favorite characters returned.
Big old thank you at the start of this to our beautiful Patreon, Burrito.
Thank you, Burrito.
Told us to watch this, made it happen. You can't find this online currently. So thank you, Burrito. I did not know this movie existed.
This is a movie I'd heard of.
Okay.
That was it.
This is written and directed by Gene Wilder and starring Gene Wilder as Sigerson Holmes.
Yep.
And it's also got Madeline Kahn.
It's got basically
Marty
the
Feldman.
cast of Young Frankenstein.
Yeah, Dom DeLuise. It was right after, Young Frankenstein. And apparently
1975, I think, yeah.
Yeah, someone told Gene Wilder you should make a Sherlock Holmes parody. And I agree with that general idea, which is Sherlock Holmes does make a really good setting for a Mel Brooks style parody.
I think detectives in general, mysteries lend themselves to comedy for some reason.
Yeah, but you can really see this, right? Like a Zuckerberg or a slapstick Sherlock Holmes.
Zuckerberg? You mean a Zucker?
I kind of want the Zuckerberg version.
The Zuckerberg airplane.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This feels
just a shitty Fisher Price plane full of amiibos or the little me's from Wii.
Yeah.
Just little people with no arms and legs. It's the future, Dave.
That is the future. Yeah, with the little deerstalker hat, Sherlock Holmes. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is I really liked Enola Holmes. I liked that idea of here's a quote unquote lesser or not think about Holmes with the hotshot brother, but I do like the version that's parody, that's zany.
Yes, except for Holmes and Watson.
Oh, right. I totally fucking forgot about that.
Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly one.
I've never seen that.
Oh, man. I struggled through about 40 minutes of it. It is it is remarkably bad. We should do it someday.
Sure.
We should cover that movie.
How did you like this movie?
I liked this movie.
Okay.
I thought parts of it were a little dated, but I liked that it was just Gene Wilder doing goof 'em ups. It's just a bunch of gags.
Yeah, here's what I'll say. It's his first writing directing credit. And I like the premise of it. There were a couple times that made me laugh, but generally I thought it was a lot of misses. And it was cute. But I felt
I agree. It was cute more than anything.
Yeah, but the biggest thing I noticed was that it did feel like someone who wasn't quite ready to write and direct a film, which is a weird thing to say about someone who I consider comedy legend.
He's pretty iconic, yeah.
Yeah. But my feeling was like, this is a little rough around the edges, and it feels a little rudderless. Like it needed a Mel Brooks. Like it needed someone who knew how to directing. Because I felt like there were a lot of like pacing issues. There were a lot of like, there were parts where like they'd do an action scene and there'd be no music for the first half of it. And then the music would like cut in and you're like, you need music for the whole thing. Like, I thought they didn't know how to end any given scene. Like it would sort of end awkwardly. There were like some gags that didn't quite work because of the editing, like things like that.
It felt like it felt like basically a montage of like second half of the night SNL sketches.
Yes.
Where all like the weird shit goes.
Yes, that's exactly what it felt like. You're right.
Like some of it I really liked. Like gosh. I mean, I liked all of Marty Feldman's bits where he has
Marty Feldman's, he's amazing.
The photographic hearing memory. So he keeps slapping the side of his head like a tape recorder. And there's a bit in the beginning where he keeps getting interrupted. So he keeps having to start the message from the very beginning of it.
Yeah. Similarly,
it's just little gags like that, basically.
Madeline Kahn always makes me laugh. She just has that. She has like that Bill Murray ability, or like
she does a little bit of a I just now noticed it watching her in a movie this time. She has a bit of the Matt Berry thing where she'll say a word weird randomly.
I was thinking actually Patty Harrison from I Think You Should Leave is another comparison
that's
where
true,
sometimes you just give them a line that's not a joke and they make it funny. She has that. She's just like that raw comedic talent where it's like, you're just funny, Madeline Kahn, who apparently was her bit doing musical numbers in an old timey stage setting.
Right.
Yeah.
It did seem like Gene Wilder was like, well, I liked everything that she did in Blazing Saddles. So maybe she just does it in this one.
I guess like, I didn't hate this movie, but
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, but I see why it's kind of forgotten, where it's like, I feel like everything in it you can kind of get better in like a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a rough draft of a Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
Not as polished. I mean, it's not everything hits in a Mel Brooks movie either, but the pace is much quicker.
Yeah.
The jokes are much quicker. I was just going to say, related to her singing, I guess like at the time, Madeline Kahn in your movie is like having Jack Black in your movie where it's like, well,
you gotta
sing. She's got to sing, right?
And this was sort of like doing the joke math, some stuff that like, I guess this is technically not joke math, but the things that bother me is, for example, they do a funny opera. And I was like, I can't hear your funny lyrics because you're doing opera. Like I can hear some of them. It was little things like that where I was like, where I'm like, the jokes aren't as, it's like, you can pull that off. Like I think Futurama of course does opera stuff in one episode where it's just a little more clear. It was like little things like that where I was like, I feel like this needed a second take. Like this, I have a lot of like little nitpicks about why a particular joke didn't work. I do love conceptually the entire ending, which is that people participating in an opera who are secretly like fighting each other, but they want to maintain the illusion of the opera.
Yeah. See, the opera was the part I laughed the hardest at.
Same.
And a lot of it was Dom DeLuise, who's another one of those comedians who'll just deliver something in a very strange way to make it very funny.
Yes.
The first scene we see him in, he's rehearsing. You remember the room? Yeah. He walks in and he's like rehearsing, like agonizing over the decision of whether or not to stab himself, I think.
Yeah.
And then he undercuts it by looking at his script really quick. And it's a lot of that is in the actual performance too during the opera.
Yes.
Where he'll be delivering the jokes like that, where he's like, because of your smell, but he says it in like a very strange way. He's fucking great in this. But I get what you're saying. If you can't hear the lyrics, then it's tough. Yeah.
It's just little. So like I can go through all the little joke things that like a very good example to me of this sort of summed it up where I was like, the joke isn't bad, but it was like, again, it was near like the middle. Did you also get the vibe that a lot of stuff was cut? because they would just so like the part where he realizes
it felt very modular. Like this definitely is, like you said, it's rudderless, and I totally agree, because it just it's just sort of a series of bits, and then there's a basic kind of through line where there's this document that keeps changing hands, and Moriarty shows up in there.
There was a part where I literally was like, wait, what is happening? And I looked up the Wikipedia.
It's very like Anchorman in terms of like, is there a story?
Right. And I would argue that's a big hit against it, because like you look at Mel Brooks movies, they always have a plot that goes to structure, that has a structure, and you can feel the plot being driven along, right? It helps when you're parodying something that already had that,
you just mimic
right?
the structure. Yeah.
Yeah, and so part of me is like, I wish he had like mimicked a Sherlock Holmes story, like a famous one or something, or like just paid attention to that structure, because it just felt like every scene didn't really go into the next, and there was a lot of moments. So like the scene I was thinking of is he finds out, I think it's might be around the halfway point, which was weird. He finds out, no, it's past that, but he finds out that Madeline Kahn is not who she says she is.
I mean, that happens like 3 times.
Yes, that's true.
Which time?
It's the time when he sees that she's she's the mistress of the guy.
Oh, okay, yeah. When he's up
teaching
on the roof.
kids. Yeah, and they do and this is another thing I want to talk about, which is the weird cartoony slide off the roof, where like they didn't go full parody, but sometimes they would. It was weird. Or not weird,
like,
but
it's a zany world. Clearly,
yeah.
It's very. It's very slapstick. I think it's maybe more.
It's hard because there's a lot of scenes of just people talking.
Yeah.
Too. And so it was like, is this for kids or not? Was kind of my question, because it's like it has adult humor. I know that slapstick is kind of in that, but what I was thinking
it's a little screwball. Well, no, it's not screwball. It's more slapstick.
Right. So he falls off the roof, and then so he's learned that she's like lying to him, and then it cuts to them just in a boat. And I was like, what are you guys doing in the boat? It was stuff like that, where they would cut and they'd be in a setting that was weird. And they're in a boat together, and he says something. He just says like, I want the truth. And it's like, feels like we're in the middle of a scene that was cut. Mm-hmm. Like the first half was cut. And then in that scene, they're doing a bit that I think is funny, which is that
Feldman keeps splashing him with the oar.
Splashing him.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to sell it. Because every time they do this close up of Gene Wilder, and it splashes in his face, and it's not really from the right angle if you watch it.
It's not. That was bothering me.
And then it just cuts to Feldman, and he goes like, "Sorry," and they don't really show like the or. You can assume you. It
needed to be a bigger, right? Because it was like a very small glass of water being tossed in his face.
Like,
I'm like, it needs to be bigger.
Yeah, you need like a wide. He needs to be
getting drenched with each one.
Yeah, or it gets more and more.
Or
like
it gets more. Yeah, it's splash. Like it escalates. Yeah.
It was a lot of stuff like that where I was like, I don't mind the gag. I just feel like your execution, you didn't quite know how to execute the gag.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Yeah. Should we explain the plot? Because it is confusing.
I like the idea, although I guess it is kind of a little maybe too complicated straight out of the gate, but it's basically Sherlock Holmes is on a dangerous case, so he basically dons a disguise and is secretly kind of guiding the events of the movie in the background with a light hand, and kind of letting his younger brother, his younger like resentful brother, take the case. Who is Gene Wilder?
Do you see Sherlock Holmes a lot in it?
A few times, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, is he the old man throwing the dust?
Yes.
There's
he was
a few
the guy
times
defusing the bomb on stage, and yeah.
Yeah, one of the issues with that was I was like, there's no like visual cue, so like I feel like I missed a lot of that.
It's real subtle sometimes, yeah, because you're right. There's no indication that it's him, which I'm sure is intentional.
Right, you just said that out loud, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he is doing that.
He is there."
And
yeah,
I didn't really think about it.
But and yeah, that's the story basically. He gets the cases. Madeline Kahn, who basically says she's being blackmailed into giving this document up from her father. But then we find out that it was not in fact her father, it's her husband.
I have a question.
And now she wants him to steal the document back. I'm not sure what the document did. It's some
that was my
shit.
question. Because you're better, you tend to retain movies and like pay attention better than me. Like sometimes I get lost when you aren't. So like I had questions about that because it starts with like the queen getting this document, and then she says like
she gives the document to this dude.
Oh right, and then
for safekeeping, for safe transport. And it's the guy, right? It's the guy that we think is her father, but winds up being her fiance.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And then the joke is her just saying shit, and that was like, well, right away I was like, I don't know.
I liked that one. See, I was gonna say there's like 3 expertly timed shits in this movie.
Oh
there's
yeah,
like a really well timed like shit.
She later, funny. Madeline Kahn later nails one during the opera, right? That one made me laugh.
It's when Dom DeLuise has died, quote unquote, and she's holding his lifeless body and singing like the sad song. And I think it's a noise from backstage.
A gun goes off.
Yeah, and she goes, shit.
That one was amazing. That was an amazing fucking shit. Again, I like the idea.
So the other one that got me is when Moriarty sends the guy into the lion room, like the wrong door. He goes in there, like you hear the door closes and you hear the guy in the next room. He's like, so anyway, Professor Oz going, oh shit.
Yep. The first laugh, it did get out of me.
Sorry.
I like the sign bit at the beginning, ugly murderer at Keyhole.
Oh yeah, he's just with the key
guy
cards.
Goes, holy Jesus Christ, and then act normally. That was cute.
This
I like
weather.
That. Yeah.
They got a real harumphin dude with a walrus mustache to play Watson.
Yeah, I wrote it's a real discount Holmes and Watson.
It really is. Yeah. They're fine.
It doesn't have like all the exteriors look like a.
You'd walk into like the dinner theater and immediately lower your expectations by about 8%. It's not a huge deal, but you can kind of tell. Oh, these aren't the best guys. Yeah. They didn't get the best guys.
It did pretty good for what it had because I also noted all the exterior shots. It looks like a holodeck program. Like it looks literally like Jordy and Data playing Sherlock on the holodeck.
I literally thought TNG. There's a reverse shot of it's when he goes to the guy's house and they do the chocolate gag. It's the reverse shot when the butler opens the door and you see Gene Wilder standing on the stoop. It's just like the stoop looked like so obviously like. It was a very tight shot, so you couldn't see anything beyond the stoop.
Yeah,
so it's
a lot. Okay. It's real studio. The chocolate gag, by the way, I did like the structure of that gag, as stupid as it is, which is simply
because it's just so dumb.
Well, he's waiting in the parlor, and he sees chocolates, and he eats one, eats another, and then he practices his handshake, so it's very important to him that he makes a first impression. And then, for me, that worked really. That helped sell it. And then he spills the chocolate. And then it was like the weird silent quickness that he starts like frantically getting all the chocolates while the guy comes in. There was just something about. Again, it wasn't like the gag itself is like fine. It was the performance.
It's Gene Wilder. And then he has
execution.
He panics and shoves all the chocolates in his mouth.
Right. It's a lot. Everybody here is doing amazing performances.
My favorite part of this gag is they do a little bit of the chocolate pretzels gag from Mallrats where Gene Wilder shakes the dude's hand and now they both have chocolate on their hands. And later on in the scene towards the end of it, like
he just casually
he's behaving like he doesn't have chocolate on his face the whole scene. So like he casually starts like just licking the chocolate off his finger, and then the other guy starts doing the same thing with his. Like I loved that.
Yeah, and I like the weird little thing where he tries to get past him, and he's like moving. He's moving. You hear the chocolate shaking every time he moves.
Right. Yeah.
That was a good. That was a good scene.
It's stuff like that. I think. For me, the jokes that didn't hit, like nothing really bothered me from a concept. Like I thought wasn't funny from a conceptual standpoint. It was all just kind of like execution or like knowing when to get out of it.
Yes, that was mostly for me too. Which was that I was like, there's not enough like musical cues, sound effects cues. There's not enough. The editing, it was like we need it. Like when a character, there was parts where I'd get lost in the scene where a character would be talking and they'd just stay on them. Like just a medium close up of them talking, and like sometimes comedy you need like a reaction shot if they say something funny, especially like when it's kind of dated, the comedy, where you're just like, I'm sort of also not like I might have missed a joke or something like that. And it's like there was just times where someone's like kind of monologuing and my eyes would gloss over. But like conceptually, none of the jokes were bad. They just sometimes needed a little more, like the part where it's fucking Moriarty and
I was just about to say when they're auctioning off the document.
Was that I was thinking Dom DeLuise and Moriarty when they're going back and forth and they're having this just cocaine fueled scene.
Oh God, yes.
And I was like, this is so what it reminds me of is like Blazing Saddles, right? With Hedy Lamarr and the cowboy,
Slim Pickens.
Slim Pickens, thank you.
Yeah.
Like when they're doing a scene together, right? And they're sort of scheming together. And you have this like very like almost vaudeville back and forth, right? Is what they're going for.
Like and when he's searching for a pencil when Harvey Korman is rattling all the stuff off.
Right. And it's so dependent on timing. And that scene, I was like, they're doing it, but they're sort of not. Like it needed to be a little punchier. They needed someone sort of like it needed to be speedier. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of like, here's a joke. Now here's like dead air while we move to this other set piece. And now here's another
stuff.
joke.
Yeah, like the scene I was thinking of, two actually. I'll start with the carriage top sword fight.
Right.
It's a funny idea. It just took too long.
Yes, there's two pieces. There's the first where he's like the whips and he's cutting them, and then there's the part where they get
technically
the big
three
signs.
because they start inside the cab, and then you have the two ghouls pull up and give her like really, really funny evil glares.
Yeah, and she just scream.
Yeah, scream because he's just yelled at her to stop. Like so, there's technically a third part to that. But anyway, I thought all three parts were good. It's just it took way too long, and it felt like there was like dead air. Like you said, there was like.
There's no music for the first half.
That's
he gets
right.
out there's literally no music, and it's just a sound. It's like when there's a few scenes like that where I'm like, you need music because it feels uncomfortable. Like I just feel there's weird. Like this unease.
It feels immediately dull.
Yes.
So even when the music starts back up, it's kind of like I feel like this is dragging. So that was that scene. There's a scene with Moriarty and his little stick man. Who looks like British Emmett Walsh.
Yeah.
And then they're auctioning it off to these two dudes, who are, I don't know, Kaiser dudes. They're, one of them's a friend. They're dudes with a lot of medals. Dave and I did not figure out what this document is.
No, I don't know if the movie tells you.
It's something to do with the government, and he's trying to sell it to these two other government guys. But anyway, the gag of that scene is him and his henchmen have this rapport about trying to add up the sums, like trying to do the conversion rate of the one guy who's bidding French francs on this thing. So they have this. It's a funny bit. It's just the scene drags for a long time before that, and they start with a different gag of him like not wanting the henchmen to eat chips because they're too loud.
Right, that scene. That was like the halfway point too. I think that was the halfway point where I was noticing structurally it sort of like there's sort of a problem with that where I'm like I can't feel what part of the movie I'm in a lot of the time.
It felt like this was a scene that would have happened earlier.
Right, like I
or actually maybe right at the halfway point because I'm comparing it to Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, which is not regarded as a good movie, so I don't know why I'm using that as a comparison. But I was just thinking, like, you learn that Nottingham is you learn that Alan Rickman is trying to recruit other lords into his scheme pretty early, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it just I don't know.
You're talking about the two different jokes.
The two. Like, I'm talking about the scene. You would think that scene, like Moriarty trying to figure out who he's going to sell this thing to, would be earlier in the movie, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, you also need, again, a lot of this is like basic story writing, and it doesn't, it doesn't surprise me, right? Because it's like if a comedian who's like Gene Wilder, it's like, okay, he's a comedic actor, he knows funny. He might not necessarily know like plot structure or how to tell a story, at least not yet. He goes on to make more movies.
Yeah.
But there's certain things where I was just like, I feel like there were certain scenes where it's like you have to like figure out in the scene what the point of the scene is.
Yeah.
And
it's not always the first thing. Sorry.
Exactly. No, that's what it is. Is like you need like something at the beginning of every scene. It's like a sketch, right? Where it's like I'm walking in. We're all showing our pumpkins that we carve to each other. Okay, let's start the sketch about someone fucking a pumpkin. Like it's that. Like you need like an establishment, like status quo of the moment. But a lot of these scenes, I was just like, wait, they're doing what? What are they doing? Why are like again the boat? Where it's like, why are they on the boat?
Right.
Later, there's the part where they go into the saw of death.
Yeah.
And this was a good joke, too. I liked this idea, but it was confusing. I spent more time being confused the Moriarty traps our main characters into a really terrible saw contraption where when it starts going, I was like, oh, just hug along the wall. And that's what they do.
Yeah.
They hug along the wall and the saw goes past them and they walk away and they go like, whew, let's get out of here. And it pans down to pieces of clothing. So like that confused me a little bit because I was like, oh, I get it. It sawed off their clothing. Just show that. But what I didn't realize, they're setting up the next scene.
Right.
Which I almost,
reveal.
Right. And I'm like, well, don't show the clothing.
Don't show the clothes. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll understand why the back of their tuxedos are missing. Yeah.
Right. But then they go to a fancy party. And I was thinking, did I miss this fancy why are they at the fancy party? Do they explain that?
It's just where that little room led out into.
Okay.
And they do a beat where both Wilder and Feldman are confused. Like they kind of look at each other like, okay, let's just go with it. Right. But it's not.
You need like a vent. It's not clear.
It's like, is this a haunting?
Right. You need like a
is this really happening?
You need things like maybe established because aren't they in Moriarty's house?
They're in Dom DeLuise's house.
Oh, right. So establish something where it's like, sir, the party is happening. Come join the party.
Yeah, I just sort of filled in because Madeline Kahn said earlier, the reason why they're here is because she sends them there because she's been rehearsing there. So I just assumed these were people rehearsing for the opera. But the movie that's me doing the movie's work for it. It didn't tell us that.
And it's more like a fancy party. And
it looks way more like a fancy party, yeah.
It's that where it's like a lot of editing, a lot of storytelling is making sure that you don't have to do the work, right? So you don't stop and go like, wait, what is this? Because I wasn't like, it's not a plot hole or anything, but it was a moment of having to piece those things together.
Right.
Which is like, wait, what is this? Why are they here?
What's happening? Yeah.
Right. Where I'm like, oh, I suppose that's his house or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't,
all right. But you could do little things like when they're going to the vent, you could hear it coming through the vent, right? You could make it so you hear the music coming through the vent, have a shot of them kind of like crawling out of the vent, getting up, looking surprised, and seeing this fancy party, right?
Yeah,
and then like just have those beats there.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like it just everything kind of takes a little longer to register in my brain as I'm watching it.
I think maybe because movies like this always feel like they're designed to be modular to me.
Right.
Because they are, we said it a few times, it is just a series of sketches, really.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just not as modular as they had hoped. And we're not like asking that the movie have like a complicated story with like intricacies that's so well crafted. It's just like, we're just talking about basic, like being confused about where the characters are.
Well, yeah, I do think, I did a small beans for Airplane. We were talking about this, which is that Airplane just copies obviously other movies,
Airport,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And for that reason, you're watching Airplane. As someone who grew up not watching Airport, I'm like, man, this movie's got great structure.
I've never seen Airport.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm watching Airplane like, this movie really nails its structure. And I'm like, yeah, because fucking Airport nailed its structure. Yeah. That's why. Not because this movie. And so like a lot of spoofs do, like I think of the scary movies, they almost bite off more than they can chew in the later ones where they're like,
they start adding a lot of different movies that it just becomes, it turns in, well,
it becomes sketch comedy.
it became that series too, like epic movie, date movie. It was just a bunch of references that was a barely coherent film.
Exactly. Yeah. And so for this, I'm like, you have the structure of a Sherlock Holmes, like use it, like just use the structure.
Yeah. We covered, I think it's been a couple of years now, but we covered Without a Clue, which was the Ben Kingsley, Michael Caine Sherlock Holmes comedy.
What?
This is a couple of years now.
I've never heard of that movie in my life, Tom.
I swear to God, we just watched on it in like 2020.
I'm looking at pictures of this. Are you sure?
Well, now I'm not. I swear we did.
Hold on. Let me look at our podcasts.
Anyway, that
because you could be right.
That is, in my opinion, a more successful Sherlock Holmes spoof.
All right, I'm not seeing it when I Google our podcast. People have to understand you could have been right. The amount of movies we covered. Maybe I'm Googling it. Maybe I'm searching it wrong. Maybe you are right. But okay, so there is a Sherlock Holmes. I'm looking this movie up. 1988. Ben Kingsley and Michael Caine?
Yeah.
Are they funny in it?
Yes.
I need to watch this movie.
Michael Caine's hilarious, dude.
He is a funny guy, but to me, he's
Ben
like
Kingsley does a lot of comedies.
Okay, yeah, he does the Love Guru. Yeah, Michael Caine seems like a guy who's charming, but not like funny. Let's see. Oh, and Jeffrey Jones is there.
He sure is. But so is Paul Freeman. So is Belloc.
Oh, is he?
He's Moriarty in that one.
Oh,
I swear we watched this movie.
I don't remember this movie at all, but again, there are movies we've watched.
The premise is that Watson's the real genius, and he hired an actor to play Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, that's
great.
Who
is Michael Caine. He's just a drunk idiot.
We, as a society, have made so many Sherlock Holmes.
It's because he's in the public domain.
Yeah.
I think that's actually probably most of it, but it's also just a fun... I think it's also because it's a story we all know. It's a character everybody kind of knows. It's so iconic that you say his name and like you immediately get like three images, very distinct images in your mind.
Yeah.
Like the cap, the magnifying glass, mysteries.
I was going to say
so
it's a
fun place to play in. Sorry, that was the end of my thought.
Oh no, it's sort of it's not just that we like the murder mystery format of Sherlock Holmes. It is the added character dynamic.
Yes.
Of Holmes and Watson, where it's like we can, make a house in Wilson.
It's more about it's the unusual case where he's the star and not the mystery. Do you know what I mean? Like we don't talk about maybe this is a bad example, but for example, you don't talk about like Seven in terms of the detectives trying to solve the case, for instance.
No, yeah, you're right.
But you look at that as that's the crime is the story. But with Sherlock Holmes, he's the one that we're there to watch. The case is almost just like, well, whatever. We want to see Sherlock do his thing.
Right. And it's always has been, I would argue, kind of trash. Meaning that when I worked
at popular
Target,
fiction, yeah.
Yeah, when I worked at Target, I had a year where I was in Chicago in a Target and I had to work there. I don't know why. And I was just reading every Sherlock Holmes. And they go down so smooth, and they're just such good trash fiction. Where then I watched the fucking Benedict Cumberbatch, fucking Sherlock, and I'm like, this is kind of perfect, like the perfect modernization of this kind of trash. Good trash. I'm not saying trash is bad.
No, it's just popular fiction, and I think that's part of it too. It's not just that it's of IP that is free that everybody knows. I think it's especially there's a reason we get a bunch of these and they work, and the Robin Hoods and Peter Pans never work. Is because we actually like this character,
right? Because Robin Hood, it's a tangent, but it's interesting that I would argue you could actually do more Robin Hoods. The weird thing that we just seem to avoid is giving Robin Hood like a personality, like making him like a swashbuckler. Like we've only done that in one movie. Robin Hood Men in Tights was the only movie where they're like, let's get like a Carrie Elways type in there.
Modern,
I guess the Disney Robin.
But that's what Carrie Elways is a throwback to. It's like the Douglas Fairbanks stuff.
It's just really funny that since the 90s, they're like, what if Robin Hood was like serious and boring and had no personality? And it's like, yeah, I guess he would suck now, wouldn't he?
What if he like frowned and everything was dirty?
Yeah.
That's not really fun.
Right. Make it a fantasy. Make Robin Hood a fantasy.
Robin Hood's supposed to be like, haha,
And that's what Sherlock Holmes
not this
is.
dour
like,
motherfucker.
Yeah. I really liked him referring to the 3 testicles as a case in this.
Oh yeah.
It's a real blunt instrument.
Oh, you
that
studied
joke.
the 3 testicles.
Yeah, but it's just like that does sound like a Sherlock Holmes mystery.
Yeah.
That's pretty great.
The mask of the 3 testicles.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wish I almost wish like that joke. I'm like, I wish we had more, because again, I like the premise. I like the start. I wish we had more riffing off of Sherlock Holmes, the world, and like the jokes, or like the jokes are more based on. They had some, I liked so I wish they did this more, which was the premise that he's bad at deduction. There's a part where that guy like knocks on the door and he announces that it's this lady, and then it's the dude. And he yells at him for not walking, man. Dude. Yeah. And he says something, stop walking like so womanly, god damn it. And it's a funny gag, which is like, it's your fault. I didn't tell.
I laughed the hardest at the last one where he's like, quit playing around in front of my door.
Yeah.
He says,
was good. Playing around.
Yeah.
That was a good bit.
I like that he's kind of like shitty Holmes.
Yeah, his sheer luck he calls Sherlock Holmes, which was fun.
Yeah.
Him cutting out the paper.
Yeah, that was a good bit.
It was a good shot. That was one of the shots where I was like, that seemed hard to do. Like, I wanted more of that, I guess, of more of like bad at being Sherlock.
Right, and he's kind of like shitty. Like he's a little like MacGruber.
Yes.
He's not a buffoon. Like he is actually smart. It's just he kind of like tries to force himself to do the Sherlock thing, and he sucks at it.
Yes.
He's like you said it succinctly.
But there's not enough
bad at deduction.
Yeah, there's not enough of that where I'm like, give me more like Sherlock moments, or like that fucking club where everybody's quiet, or have Mycroft be in there as well. Like add a little more Sherlock Holmes and play with those premises, build like parody around them, as opposed to this like, and I'm talking about like the broad scenes. Again, there are stuff that I like that were cute, but it didn't feel like he has a fencing machine.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is this?
It's the scene where we meet him too.
Yeah.
It's Sherlock
Holmes is kind of an inventor
scene.
Too. Like,
we're generally introduced to Sherlock where he's doing some crazy experiment.
Right. So
usually involving a gun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's even a gun in The Great Mouse Detective.
Yeah, it is. Oh, I forgot about The Great Mouse Detective.
It walks in, he shoots a pillow.
Yep. Gun. They should add more cocaine in The Great Mouse Detective.
I mean, you're not. There may have been, like I said, he walks in and shoots a pillow.
Yeah, you're right. That is pretty. They also do
while dressed like a racist Asian joke, or a racist joke against Asian people, rather.
They love it. I mean, it's Disney.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
Disney. Yeah. It's just,
they do,
just Disney.
They do a joke twice where he starts singing in the stage. This is the stuff where I was like there was no conceptually jokes that bothered me, but it did bother me that they do a thing where Madeline Kahn's singing as a baby on stage, which was funny. And then they show a second song, and she's just singing a duet with a guy, and it's going on for so long. And then Sherlock Holmes, the gag is Sherlock Holmes realizes, or not Sherlock, but the brother, Gene Wilder, he gets signaled by Sherlock Holmes that they're trying to kill her by sawing this thing to fall on her. So he joins in the song and like draws her towards the front of the stage so it doesn't kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that was cute. That was a cute idea. But then they just do it again at the very end. And that
which
where
part?
He joins into the opera, where it's
right,
it's
different.
Her on, it's different. It's stuff like that where I was like, and then the fact that it was like 2 songs in that beginning, where it's like just have her start with one song that's funny, right, and then transition into this other bit. Again, it's a lot of like efficiency and like because the movie's also 90 minutes, so I'm like, you can't really cut like stuff out.
But it's just some of the bits have too much dead air.
I did like, so everything from the opera on, because I liked, so they do an opera, like we said, where they all like struggle with a gun and trying to make it seem like, and the audience is way too forgiving of the situation, which I thought was very funny.
They start really enjoying it, yeah. Listen, they didn't have TV back then. You took what you can get.
Oh, yeah. And then they have the final fight in the the little prop warehouse in the back, which I thought was actually like a really solid.
They have a Roger Rabbit fight.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. You're right. Mm-hmm. Like for a swashbuckling, like sword fight area, that's perfect. And they use every part of it, which I really appreciated. Like doing like the balloons and like the going in the
magic box.
Yeah. Is at one point he's drugging the wine?
Yes, Feldman drugs the wine. I forget why.
Do they set that up? That's another one where he gets on stage and he starts plopping stuff in the wine.
They did, but I forget why it was.
Well, it's not confusing. It's just that I don't remember him saying it. And so like when he starts doing it was the first time I knew about it. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, I can do the work for it and go like, okay, so I actually don't know why, because he's just drugging the other singers. He's just drugging the whole performance.
I guess to get away with the document.
Okay. I have a lot of notes where I just went like, what did I miss? And sometimes I feel like it was a line buried into a bit.
I think it was just a line there. I do remember the line happening. I just can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
I know they're just trying to go there. Oh, they're trying to drug the original guy, but it doesn't work. That's why they both end up on stage.
Okay.
Both he ends up on stage, and so does Moriarty's henchman. The drugged wine was to drug the original player. Sorry.
No, yeah. Okay, that explains a little bit. Ultimately it really seems like it's performer led.
Yeah.
And so like it kind of, the beats get kind of lost in there, and I actually think it hurts the comedy a little bit too. Yeah. Where you start like riffing. The sex scene, remember the sex scene?
Yeah.
Where he fluffs her boobs like they're pillows, which is a funny idea.
Yeah.
Where he wants her to say who her dad is. She doesn't want to say. And then he starts half stripping, fluffing her boobs.
It's the art of seduction, Dave.
Yeah, and that was stuff like that, and like interrogating her. And I was like, okay, and she likes it. And it was like, I wasn't like, I wasn't sure if it was established that she's so horny for him that she's willing to say anything to get the sex. Is that the idea?
I guess.
Because it's those scenes
he was
like,
really revving her engine in that scene.
Right.
There's a little bit of it.
Seducing her to like get the information out.
I think he's seducing her. It's the simple art. It's the fine art of seduction, Dave.
And I think there's no music in that scene too, where it's like music can do a lot. Have like sexy music playing where it's like, oh, it's supposed to be seduction. It's a lot of that where I'm like, what they're doing is funny, but I'm not sure what the goal in the scene is. And then she sort of says the name and they like grab each other's hands like they both accomplished something. Like she's excited too that she said the name, and he's like, we did it. And then they start having sex.
It's a weird scene.
It feels like a scene where they're like, so this is it feels heavily improv, and it's like, okay, so this is what we want to accomplish in the scene. And then it's like, cut. Well, they didn't quite go the way we thought, but let's move on. Like that's the vibe I get from every scene.
Yeah, I could see that. Totally.
I don't know. I'm curious about the script now.
Yeah. I don't know, because there's definitely a bit of... Actually, it's different from like the Apatow stuff where it drags, but that's... The improv is different because it's a lot of takes of people just filling space with the broadest non sequiturs they can think of.
I feel like Apatow blocks it off, and that was what made him successful, is that he'd go like, okay, so in this part of the scene, you have to say this line, and then from here to here, just say whatever. And then from here, you have to say this line.
Right,
you know?
Yeah.
Whereas this, it's like, it feels like, it really does feel like a little improv where they're like, in this scene, we need to get out this information. I don't care how. And go. And it's like the information or like the driving force from scene to scene gets like kind of lost. And then the scene
changes.
Just, yeah. Yeah, the energy, the character stuff sort of changes. And then it, like Madeline Kahn, I'm not quite sure like
what she wanted.
Yes, what her deal was.
Yeah.
Like, was she a femme fatale? Was she supposed to be like...
But she stole the document from her fiance, but didn't want to. Now she wants Holmes to steal it back.
Like, why didn't she want to give her dad's name? I forget that.
Because he's not really her dad.
But like in the scene, what's her reasoning? She's just like, I don't want to tell you.
She just doesn't want to tell him. Yeah, she just says, I can't tell you.
Right. All right. See, again, that was things where I was like, surely there's a bigger reason. But I guess not.
Of course there isn't. And don't call me Shirley.
Fuck.
Because we're talking about airplane, Dave.
Because we're talking about airplane. Yeah, I get it.
I don't have too much more to say about this. I agree. It's more cute than anything, but I did enjoy it. I did like it. If you're a Gene Wilder fan, you'll probably enjoy it.
It's a lot of, like, I feel like this is a good high watch because it's a lot of I'm having fun. I don't know what's going on. Like, it made me feel like a golden retriever at a barbecue where I'm like, everything's very fun, but I'm not entirely sure what our goal is here. Like when it's fucking Moriarty and Dom DeLuise fucking smashing vases and like biting each other's hands.
And I'm noses.
Like, yeah, and I'm like, I don't know what they're doing, but
madness.
I love it.
Yeah. There's some really broad jokes in this.
Yeah, there are.
It goes for it a lot of the time.
It's a fascinating film if you can get your hands on it, because it really is just like, what if a bunch of very funny people made a movie without Mel Brooks? And what does that look like? And it's like, I got good reviews when it came out. I can see people liking it.
Yeah, comedy was a little, Mel Brooks notwithstanding. I even think Blazing Saddles is a little slower paced, but I mean, comedy was paced more slowly back then too. And
it was a little looser. Like Blazing Saddles just throws out its entire fucking plot at the end.
Famously. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't think movies can always get away with that. When people say you couldn't make Blazing Saddles today, it's not because of
That's
the
racism
stuff. Yeah, it's because of shit like that, where it's like, this is structurally out of its fucking mind in a way that like...
Yeah, it really is bonkers.
Where I wish like Holy Grail is like that too. And I'm like,
yes,
I kind of wish more movies got to do this. The Weird Al movie does it, actually.
Oh, word. I need to finish that.
Yeah, the Weird Al movie is very nihilistic in a way that's lovely. Everybody watch that movie. That movie feels like a movie that could have been made in the 70s or the 80s. Like it feels like it's like, oh, I'm so happy that we're still making movies like these. What were you going to say?
I forget. I lost my train of thought.
I'm sorry.
What was the topic I was saying right before?
Blazing Saddles, the structure.
Oh, right. They see that the bozos that say that I've always heard that from. I think that you can't make Blazing Saddles today. I think they just don't understand what the movie's about.
No, they're trying to make that audiences are too sensitive today that they wouldn't understand the nuance. But like for Exhibit 1, Mel Brooks could barely make Blazing Saddles then.
Yes.
He literally got the note from the executives to make Bart white because they were scared of the racial stuff. And it's like, oh, so no movie.
The point of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, they were scared then. And and two, like, of course you can make it today.
Yeah.
Because they made things like it today.
Blazing Saddles isn't a comedy about saying racist stuff.
No, it's not.
Which
we
is
get
what
to say racist.
Yeah,
stuff.
which is what a lot of them seem to be opining when I hear that.
Right, we don't get to say offensive racist stuff,
and
it's like I feel like you haven't watched that movie.
Right? Did you not? I don't know.
The joke isn't that a white person got to say the N-word.
Right.
It's that look at these idiot racists.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, come on, man. Like Tarantino has white people say the N-word, I would argue probably too much.
Too much.
Like, it's just like, yeah, you can make that movie today.
He made a film in which he gets to say that word many times to
Samuel L.
Jackson's
Jackson,
face.
yeah. Which is like the worst Make-A-Wish. Like, that's what it feels like. You know, like on set,
it would end the program.
Yeah, he's just sitting there going like, you just wrote this scene so you could say the N-word a bunch to me, didn't you? That movie, man.
It's like the beginning of Pool Hall Junkies.
Yeah, I like Pulp Fiction, but that is to me one of the most embarrassing director cameos in a movie.
Shocking. It's really indefensible.
Yeah,
I mean, it was at the time, but
edgelord.
like, yeah, at the time we're so, I guess it's just being, I don't know, edgy.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, watching that scene now, it's like, dude, what were you thinking with this scene?
Come on, man. It's ridiculous. I mean, he's just a white guy who really wanted to say the N-word. And like in that era, like it's either that or you got to be in a Spike Lee film, right? Like that's the only like, so he had to make his own path, He had to fulfill his dream.
Forge his own destiny.
Yeah.
We're talking about way different things now, so I think we're probably done.
All right.
We've moved on from this movie.
Man. Folks, Burrito specifically, not just folks, but Burrito is the folk. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. I don't know why I kind of know why you want us to watch it, because you had seen it. And it's an interesting artifact, and it's a very interesting film.
It's an obscure movie, kind of. Weirdly,
yes.
For a Gene Wilder vehicle that was also written and directed by him. Yeah.
So thank you so much. This was through our Patreon. Burrito did this through our Patreon, which is patreon.com/gamefully unemployed. GAMEFULLY unemployed. You can do custom We Just Watched episodes. That's what this was.
Like this.
Yep. But for just $5 a month, you get access to a bunch of exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. For a little more, you can watch movies with us every Friday night. It's fun. We watch comedies sometimes. We watch Heartbeeps. We love comedy artifacts.
We love heartbeeps in this house.
Yeah.
Yeah. We might have to watch that Holmes and Watson movie. I want to subject more people to it.
Yeah, I like hurting people.
Yeah.
With comedy.
Creatively.
So come on and check that out. Come get
on
hurt
and be
by
injured. Be injured creatively.
Yeah.
We also have a store, gamefullyunemployed.com. You can find a link to our Teespring store, which has all kinds of cool original artwork by cool original artists. Starlene Hodge, Michael Vincent Bramley, Justin Brown, others. Check it out. Fun stuff.
Fun stuff.
And check out our new show, Batical.
Batical.
Fun stuff. Lots of fun here.
we have fun. We have so much fun that it's ridiculous. We have so much fun.
We shouldn't be allowed to have this much fun.
Yeah,
we're Gene Wilder and Marty Feldman squeezing each other's cheeks on the dance floor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I liked that. Also, this was something Hannah noted watching it. Marty Feldman just looks British. He just looks British.
He couldn't be from anywhere else.
He looks like a British caricature. He looks like a political cartoon.
Yeah. Yes. They don't make that guy anywhere else. They
don't, and they should. They should make more. That's all.
Yeah. He looks like a castle ghost.
Yeah. Yeah. He should play Igor.
Perfect. He did.
Yeah, he should play Igor.
Tom.
You fell right into my trap, Tom.
I did.
Checkmate. Hey, listen, our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can find him on twitter.com as the Corlew, or go to shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. For more of his work, go to mvbramley.art. Our episode artwork is by Justin Brown, available on Twitter as Justin T. Brown or at artnessbyjustinbrown.com. And finally, additional artwork is by Starlene Hodge. You can find her work at starlenearts.com or on Twitter as StarleneX. Cool. Goodbye.